Aho, buju and denaway maganadok. Anin, kage gabo and dishnakaz. Mekanak and dudem. Mekanak wajuwing and dunjaba. Beshoga kaba kong and danongom. Apajigo migwech bizendawyek. And what I said there was a traditional Ojibwe protocol greeting. I said, hello, all of my relatives. My name is Kage Gabo. I'm Turtle Clan. I'm a descendant of Turtle Mountain. I live close to Minneapolis today. And what I wanted to start off by saying was thank you. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to this live Ojibwe Word of the Day. Again, this is something I love doing on Thursday nights. And if you take a few moments out of your day to talk about, to discuss, to listen to Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Chippewa, language, culture, history, spirituality, linguistics, philosophy, ethics. I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to speak about that. So I always love starting by saying thank you so much for listening. And tonight's word of the day is an incredibly important one in Ojibwe society. And I think it's one we really ought to discuss because I think the language really has a beautiful depiction of this, and I think it also instructs us in how we are supposed to treat particular people. And today's word of the day is Gichiaya. Gichiaya. And that's our Ojibwe word for elder. And really, if you break that word down literally, it means Gichi, great, and Aya, being. So when we're speaking about an elder in the language, what we're actually describing that being, that person, is as a great being. And we have different words for elder too. One of them is our word for old man, Akiwenzi, and our word for old woman, Mindamuye. And what those words really mean, the Akiwenzi is Aki. The word for old man, it comes from Aki, the earth, and that Wenzi, it's said to come from. He is the being who comes from the earth. Literally, when one old man described it, he said, I am the earth, and the earth is me. Everything you see here in the earth has gone into creating me. And our word for Mindamuye is, I believe that it comes from the initial part, minj, which is to hold, and that uye too is a being. So she's the being that holds us all together. And I think that when we're talking about that, she is the woman at this point in her life who is holding the family together. She's holding the clan together. She's holding the community, the Otena, the towns, the villages together. And ultimately then she's holding the nation together. So in some contexts, particularly I think in English, which is kind of youth obsessed, or American society, this term old man or old woman, it can almost have like a negative connotation to it. But when you look at it in the language, I think what they're really saying is, these are very important people. These are great beings. And when they're talking about a great being, we're looking at, well, what is their role in society then? Because here's another part that is, I think it's different in Anishinaabe society than it is in Euro-American Canadian society. Elders are still held in very high regard. This is why we're calling them the great beings. And Anishinaabe are traditionally very humble people. When we look at our sacred law, like Gichiana Konegewanan, Gichidaba Konegewanan, that's one of our sacred laws, humility. Dabasing Dezo. He or she thinks lowly of themselves. He or she is humble. So to actually refer to one of these people as a great being, it's one of the rare circumstances where I've found it in the language and in the culture, and it's reserved for these people, for the elders. And they're at a point in their life where you would look at these 4 stages that one has gone through to be an Abenuji, an Abenujians, the baby, the infant, going through that next hill of life, that next stage, the abenuji, the child, the guiwizens, gemage, the ikwezens, the little boy or the little girl. Then you would become a ikwe, gemage, ineni. You would become a woman or a man. And then if you were to have received the great gift of long life from the Manadu, from the spirit, from the mystery, from Kije Manadu, the benevolent mystery, by that time you would be called a great being. You would become an elder. And so in some of these contexts, you'll notice this, that the elders are often given the most comfortable seats at ceremonies, at functions. They eat first. And I think that this is something that's really important to be acknowledged at like ceremonies and at functions, that people will often create plates and serve the elders first. They are looking after them. They're taking care of them. They're being acknowledged for the great gift that they're giving to all of us. Wisdom, experience, knowledge, all of teachings, all of these things. And when you notice when they're at this point of their life, this is when they are helping pass on ceremony, traditional teachings, philosophy. This is when they're healing people. This is when they're instructing the people who will replace them, because they know at one point, Anishinaabe Giwe, they go home. They go back to the spirit world. And they're leaving all of this great knowledge, teaching, philosophy, spirituality, ceremony, tradition to the people who are coming. So we've always held them in very high regard. And I think that this is really important to talk about today because, and maybe this is specific to the United States, but there is so much talk about not caring if people who could possibly be very susceptible to COVID-19, to the coronavirus, if they were exposed to it and would possibly pass on. For me, that goes against what the language is talking about. It's definitely going against what the Gichita Konegewanan is talking about, the great law, the sacred law. Because that to me doesn't seem like I'm really showing them a great deal of love. That Sagi doing, that Kwaikwad is doing, that virtue, that righteousness, that honesty. I don't know if I can. And that Guayak, and it's actually doing what you say. So the language tells you you should treat this being with great affection, with great care, with reverence, and make sure that they're very well looked after. And so that's doing one thing. To say that is very beautiful, but if you don't act that way, you are living with contradiction. You're not living a holistic life. Your actions aren't in alignment with what you're saying, with what you're doing. So I think with Guayakwatism and with virtue, with righteousness, with honesty, that's literally living correctly, living properly. And if we talk about these sacred laws, then I think we need to live by them as well. It's definitely manaji doing, respect, going easy on someone, acknowledging the sacredness of their life as well, not just your own. Having that sungade ewen, that strength of heart, that bravery, that courage to look after someone who may need your help. Honestly. And then acting with intelligence, acting with wisdom, treating all of your relatives in a way that you would like to be treated. And that's ultimately, that is, for me, that's part of the Deboywan. That's part of the truth of the sacred law. And it's always been this way. So for some cultures that may not have that sort of reverence, that care, that affection, that admiration for the elderly, I think that the language here, I think that the culture has a great deal to share with the modern day society. And I think it also can give us inspired, intelligent, wise direction in how we should act towards not just our elderly, but to all of our relatives. And to act in a way that will be positive, not just to them now, but to someone who will be coming 7 generations from now. So mi ie wakuru yan nongong. That's all I'm going to say this evening. I'm going to say Apichigo Miigwech Bizantawik. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to this live Ojibwe Word of the Day. Again, if you know someone who is interested in our language, our culture, our history, our spirituality, our ethics, our linguistics, our philosophy, please feel free to like and share this video. Aho, Miigwech Bizantawik. Dagasanayang Guamasik. Please, all of you, do take care. Banama minwa odasa bandamangigawa bandaman. And the spirits will decide we see each other again.